you should keep the bike level when doing this service. Know your role is definitely an old school biker value. Whenever you buy a used bike, I don't care what the guy or gal who you bought it from says, you go and service it immediately. All right, I've just been riding. Now we're gonna do some wrenching. We're gonna do a full service on Nightbird. So you're gonna learn how to do a full service on a touring motorcycle. This bike has almost 32,000 kilometers. So that's what we're gonna do. Let's get into it. Okay, so you have seen so far a lot of Kevin's big bottom girl, the 2008 Softail Deluxe 105th Anniversary Edition, but you haven't seen too much of the bike that I ride on a daily basis. This is my 2009 Road King, affectionately called Nightbird. And I bought it a year ago. I put 16,000 kilometers or 10,000 miles on it. And remember, for those months, we were completely solid with ice and snow. So that's in about 8 months. Love the bike. Basically, it's got a stage 1. It's got a 2.2 Vance & Hines exhaust, Thundermax tuner, and also we have done Screamin Eagle Air Intake and K&N Filter. So that's about it. It runs great. I really like the bike. I'm really sitting on the fence as to what we're going to do with it. But today, we're going to do our 32,000 kilometer or 20,000 mile service. We're going to walk you through a complete service on a touring bike.
All right, Jamie. So we're going to do your service. So why don't you tell us about the products that we're going to be using?
Okay, so when I do my service, I got my manual and I follow it religiously, like every step, the entire service. So this is the equivalent of a dealer level service on the bike. So first thing, engine oil and filter. We are going to do the primary chain case lubricant, the transmission lubricant. So this is a comprehensive service. What I'm going to show you in this video, part 1, is just the 3-hole service. And also we're going to do the air cleaner. So we're going to do that in this video. In the next video, we're going to do the rest of that to really do the comprehensive service. So product-wise, here's what I got. Of course, I've got a K&N filter, so I use the K&N cleaner and then the filter oil. We're going to use the Amsoil primary fluid for the change on the primary. We're going to use the 75W90 for the transmission.
Oh my God, it's not Amsoil. What happened?
It was what was in stock, okay? And then we use this service kit for the derby cover and then the 3 O-rings here for the plugs. That's a genuine Harley
Same one
part.
we used on mine.
Yeah, exactly. So you can see the part number there. Genuine filter and Amsoil V-Twin 20W50 oil. We've got 4 liters, and we'll tell you why we need 4 and not 3 in a moment.
What is this?
And then what is this? Most people wouldn't see this. This is from Rogue Chopper. It's called a Scavenger, and this is something we're going to show you how to do a complete oil change on a Harley-Davidson engine. Very different than what most people do.
Really? That sounds interesting. I can't wait to see what that's all about.
All right, so we're going to change the oil. Let's get started. Okay, so with the touring bikes, the transmission plug is in line with the transmission, and there's a hole in the cross member, so it's right here in line, and there's a hole in the cross member that is right there. And there's actually a plug there that we're going to do for the transmission. So if you come around to the front of the oil pan here, there is a plug right there. Okay, so then if you look at the plug right there on the front of the oil pan, that is for your oil. So oil is here, transmission is here. We're going to start by doing the oil. Now come up here, Kevin. We're going to then loosen off this, which is for our drain, or for our fill rather. And what that'll do is that'll allow it to drain a little faster. So I'll show you how to do that. So you see how that's just going so slow? All of a sudden we get a little bit of airflow. And then all of a sudden it drains a lot faster. And one thing I'll mention too is you should be doing this when the bike is hot. So you saw that I was riding, I rode the bike, and it just helps, everything moves a little better. You should do it when it's hot. First thing I do is check the plug. Want to see if there's any kind of like metal there or anything. We're looking golden. So that's great. Okay, while that's draining, I'm going to take the O-ring off of the plug. And the O-rings are in this kit. Got my pick here. I'm going to take that O-ring off. I'm going to go into the kit here. I do this right away because otherwise you forget. It's silly to have a leak on a plug for the sake of that O-ring. Normally, if we weren't going to do the scavenger, we would put the plug back in at this point, but we're not because when we do the scavenger, a whole another liter of oil is going to come out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put the plug in really just a little bit to stop the last little bit of oil from dripping out of there. I'm going to dump that pan, and then I'm going to do the transmission dump. But before we do the scavenger, we'll pull that plug back out. Pull this one out. She's hot, very full. I'm trying my best not to make a mess, but also take a look at the oil, and I want to see if there's any concern there. And in this case, not at all. And that's because we regularly service our bikes. So no issues at all.
What are all those metal flakes in there?
Yeah.
Just kidding.
So again, to do the transmission, if you go basically right here, the middle of the transmission, go under the exhaust to the cross member, and you're going to see a hole right here. So there's kind of like I don't know if you can see that. There's a little bit of a keyway cut there and then a bit of a hole here. The plug is right there. Okay. So. Okay. Got that loosened off. Showed you how to identify that with the transmission. I also forgot to mention I'm using a 5/8 socket on all the plugs. And for the transmission, I'm going to use a 3/8 Allen to, again, open up the fill hole and allow some air so it'll drain faster. I had like a 12 point and it went on so easy. There we go. Whew. Okay. So I don't know if you can see how clear that is. Now I'm just going to take my Allen here and loosen off the fill. And woo, there we go, right?
I think she almost drained fully before you even had to do that.
Yeah. So again, first thing we're going to do is check that magnet. Again, we're golden. I see guys, even some of the guys we ride with, they don't take care of their bikes the way we do. And I'll just tell you, man, it pays to do this service. So I'm glad you guys are watching this video, and I'm glad you guys are going to wrench on your own bikes. Yeah, so same deal with the plug, right? Replace the O-ring right away, and I'm going to put the plug in. Okay, so I've got my torque wrench set. It's 14 to 21 foot-pounds. I go 18. Just go in here, get that socket on that plug. And again, I kind of hand tightened it a little bit first, that we're not cross-threading it. There we go. And there we go. Oil, transmission. Yeah, so I'm breaking Kevin's cardinal rule of only using Amsoil.
Oh my God, I'm turning away. I'm not even looking.
But I'm using Valvoline simply because this is what I had in stock and I didn't have time to go buy another one. But this is a good quality gear oil as well. According to our specs here, this is going to take 32 fluid ounces or 1 US quart, which is exactly what this bag is. I've already opened up the spout here, punctured a hole in the seal. So now we're up.
You like those zero waste bags?
Yep, I love them. Makes this job a lot easier, cleaner, assuming that you put the cap on tight and don't spill it like I just did.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything. But...
well, we were going to edit it out. On this dipstick here, you can see the X. And so what we want to see is we want to be able to put this down. We don't need to thread it down. We just need to set it in the hole and see the level. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, pull it out. But there's fluid like right to the middle of that. So I'm happy with that for now. I will check it, drive down to the gas station, go for a short ride, check it. Always good. And then you take your 3/8 Allen. We're going to just snug that up here. So again, do it by hand first. Make sure that you're not cross-threading it. That should just go down like butter. And you don't need to put a big ooga ooga on this here. You don't put a big snipe on it. Literally, there. Engine oil is drained. Transmission oil has been drained and changed. Now we're going to drain the primary fluid. You've seen this, if you've been following all of our videos, you've seen this before. But if you're new to the channel, maybe this is the first time you see on how to do this, you can check out Kevin's video where we had to repair his Dark Horse deflector for his Man of War motor sprocket. That's an interesting video. You should check that one out. The next step is to remove the derby cover. So Kevin, if you want to bring the camera in here. So we've got our derby cover here. We also have for the rear passenger their foot pad here. And if you look right here, you just undo that Allen bolt and the whole thing comes off. If you want to take it off to get it out of the way, just remember to use blue Loctite when you put that Allen bolt back in. And at the bottom of the casting, there's a pin that goes in the hole. And so that's where you decide. I think there's 3 holes there, and you can decide what height you want it. So make sure it's the same height as the other side. I don't take it off when I'm doing this. If I was going to remove the entire primary, I would definitely be taking this
Definitely
off,
have to take
as
it
well
off.
as the front as well. But for this, what we're doing, we don't need to do that.
So, I mean, and that's great because, you know, removing both foot pegs, the struggle is real.
The struggle is real, yeah. And the other thing too is just make sure you have a rag here. Not so much that you're going to spill anything, but you want to be able to put the derby cover down without scratching the surface of it. Okay, T27 Torx. You can do it with by hand with just a key, but I definitely prefer to do it with a ratchet and a good quality bit here. This is a Stanley torque bit. The reason why is these are relatively easy to strip. And so you want to use a good bit, and you also want to have backups just in case. So I've removed the bottom 4, but I left the top one in. The reason why is I don't want the derby cover to just fall off. So I'm going to just use my hand, kind of press against it to keep it from falling over. And then we just take that last one out.
Don't want to scratch your baby.
Yeah. Especially, I just bought this derby cover, so. All right. So now, take that off. There we go. Put it down like so. And I want to show you one thing here. My derby cover bolts have this very fine washer. And sometimes that washer, when you take the bolt out, will stick to the face of the derby cover. You just have to use a pick to pop that off, but try not to drop this into another dimension. Once you have the derby cover off, you've removed your bolts, you need to inspect every one of the holes, because what you're going to see is you're going to see just a little bit of buildup here. Look at that. Did you see that?
What's that buildup of?
It's just old Loctite from before.
Right. So why would we want to remove that, Jamie?
Well, because when we go to reinstall it, if we're just cramming more and more Loctite in there, eventually, look at that, eventually we're going to have a problem.
So you can say that hole can only take so much.
The hole can only take so much. This is wisdom from Kevin. But this is how you service your primary. Drop the oil. And if you look here where the primary is, just on this side of the derby cover, if you go straight down, the plug's right there. So I don't know if you noticed there, but I was struggling because I couldn't find my multi-point 5/8 here. So I was using a 6-point, and it was a kind of a struggle. So I think this is a 12-point, and it's way easier. This goes on. All right, here we go. We should also mention that you should keep the bike level when doing this service. Probably late now if you've got the bike on a jiffy stand. Okay, So we may have a problem.
Let's take a look.
What is that? There is some metal on the magnet, and
That's kind of like just a paste. Rub your
Yeah.
fingers together. Feel, is it gritty
no,
or is it smooth?
not too bad.
Okay, feel those.
There is a little bit of metal there. Yep. That's why you do your service, though, before you have a catastrophic failure. So in all of my previous primary changes, I bought the bike at 16,000. So this is my third service because I did one at 16 when I bought it. Whenever you buy a used bike, I don't care what the guy or gal who you bought it from says, you go and service it immediately. I did it at 24,000, and now I'm doing it at 32,000 kilometers. And when I took it off in the previous two, the plug basically looked like this with just a bit of oil. But you just saw that there was an accumulation, a small amount of metal, almost like a paste. I have been hearing a little bit of noise around my when I shut the bike off, and I've suspected that maybe my compensator, there's a problem.
I was just going to say, Jamie, can you say compensator?
Yeah. Okay, so 5/8, 12-point socket. I've got my torque wrench. Drain plugs are between 14 and 21 foot-pounds, so I go about 18. So I've already put it in by hand, and now just use the torque wrench to
18 in life, man.
And I'm going to torque it. All right, that's good. Also, now I've got this ready to kind of go back together, and I just want to clean this cover up a little bit. And then I'm going to take my pick, and I'm going to very carefully remove that without scoring anything. Comes right out. Garbage. Okay, there's a little bit of oil residue in there.
Well, if you can get it out. But I mean, in all reality, it's not going to do any damage.
Yeah, so see, get a rag in there.
Go. Yeah.
Nice and clean. Everything's clean. Keep your workspace clean. We got our kit here. Last seal from our kit. So we'll get rid of that. But before we reinstall this, we need to fill. Right here, I want to point your attention to something. This is where we do the clutch adjustment. So this is an Allen key, this nut. Now, in your manual, this is the time to do it. But we just fixed this. We just did the clutch adjustment on my bike not that long ago. So for the purpose of doing just the oil changes for this video, I'm not going to do that. But in our next video, when we do the rest of the service, I will show you how to do that because I am going to be taking the primary all apart.
Stay tuned to your local station. That's going to be exciting.
So you see here where it says primary fluid, wet 38 ounces, dry 45 ounces. What is that, Kevin?
If we removed all these clutch plates and replaced the clutch plates, those clutch plates would be dry. Well, technically, you're supposed to soak them overnight, but it's still considered to be a dry fill. So you would fill it with 35 ounces.
45.
Right, 45.
Yeah.
But we're going to fill it today because this is still wet.
With 38 ounces.
38?
38 ounces.
Well, you know, that is relative because we're going to show you how you actually do the measure because we've had to add and we've also had to remove based on just fluid levels. So let's take a look on how we do this.
There is a kit that you can buy and it comes with all these funnels. So this will be for your oil filter.
Is that kit by chance called a Harley-Davidson oil change funnel kit?
It is.
Where would we find that?
On Amazon. Here is the funnel. Because if you buy it from Harley, you will spend
$10,000.
Quite a bit more. And then it comes with this little contraption. And this is designed to kind of sit right in here and let you fill your primary.
How effective do you feel that is, Jamie?
This effective. Don't use it at all.
That's what we have found. Ask us how.
Because we've spilled primary fluid
everywhere.
Yeah. So using Amsoil primary fluid, precious primary fluid, we don't want to spill any of it.
Cheers.
So the trick that we figured out, is that if you just pour it onto that threaded clutch adjuster, it will run nicely down into your primary. How do you know when this is filled? Because you don't have a dipstick. Well, there is a way to do it. Step one, get something like this, screwdriver or a pick. Make sure it's very clean.
Because it's going in the fluid.
Because it's going in the fluid.
And it's going in your primary.
And what we're looking to do is we're looking to see if the fluid has reached the bottom of your clutch basket. So you can kind of see right at the bottom, you'll see the ring. Right there. And you want the fluid to touch that. We're not there yet. So we're going to have to...
No, we're not there yet.
Okay, so you notice now, right, when the bottle gets to be almost empty, it gets hard to do it. So then I do sometimes use the funnel and just touch that right there. And then you pour some fluid in the top of the funnel. Boom.
That is pretty darn close to the bottom of that clutch basket.
Yeah, right there.
Right. Now, do you want to what happens if you fill it past there?
You'll have trouble getting it into neutral. You don't want to overfill it. So basically just keep going in small increments when you get towards the end of the bottle and make sure that it's just touching the bottom of that clutch basket. And then we know our chain is submerged in the oil and we should be good.
So like we mentioned before, even though they give you a specific fluid amount that you want to throw in there, as we've shown, that can change. Every bike is a little bit different. So you do it for your bike. What you take out is what you put back in. So don't always just go by the fluid spec. Make sure that you do your measurements and check the fluid levels yourself. How's that build-off coming up with that?
Just comes off, no problem at all.
Nice.
All right, so just a little wire brush. Okay, I've cleaned up those bolts. And now just a little bit of blue Loctite. So you should always have more than one bottle of Loctite because eventually you run out and then you'd be in the middle of doing your job and you wouldn't have enough, like that just happened to me.
My personal preference is definitely the fluid. I'm not a big fan of the paste for this very reason, but if it's all you got, it's all you got.
And reinstalling a derby cover is the same, where we want to make sure this doesn't move out of the way and we want to get this in here, and I'm going to just hold it in place with my hand.
There it is. Like a professional.
Okay, so you just want to get it hand started. You don't want to cross thread anything. And I'm just going to thread this in enough so that the derby cover won't fall off, right? And now go ahead and put in the other four. So the spec is, for the derby cover, torque spec is 84 to 108 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds, inch-pounds. We're going to go with 100 inch-pounds. Here we go. Starting in the number 1 position at the very top. Then we're going to go to number 2, which is down here. Then we're going to go to number 3. And again, I'm not trying to get these to pop on the first try. Number 4.
So this is like a star pattern.
Number 5, exactly. Okay, so now everything's kind of tight and we should be able to start doing it to spec. Back to number 1. Now on the second try, there we go.
Ooh, the suspense was killing me.
2, 3, 4, 5. Done.
There it is, primary fluid change completed.
Here's a little tip too. With your torque wrenches, I don't know if anybody has ever told you this, don't leave them torqued. When you're done, release all the pressure before you put them away.
So we were talking to you about a complete oil change. And so when you drop the oil, that's just dropping the oil in the reserve tank. But there is about another whole quart of oil throughout your engine and all the oil passages. And that oil needs to be changed as well. So in order to do that, we have from Rogue Chopper, it's called a scavenger kit. This is a puck that goes in place of your oil filter. And so this here goes into beside where the drain plug was. So we're going to remove that. And that plug is called the pipe plug. And once we do that, we're going to install this, put this hose on right here. like so. And then we're going to dip this into a quart of oil and start the engine. And it's going to draw the oil up. And as it's doing that, it's also going to be pushing out the oil from the drain plug that we did not reinstall yet. So we'll show you how all that works. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the oil filter. Notice I got this handy extension. Oil's going to pour out all over the place. Just put that in there. Okay. Make sure you use a nice clean rag. Then we're just going to install the scavenger puck.
Just has to be hand tight?
Just hand tight, just like that.
Okay.
It's got a good rubber seal on it.
Okay.
So now that we've got the oil filter off and we've got the scavenger puck on, now we're going to go in here and remove the pipe plug, which is right beside the oil drain plug. So let's take a look. Okay, so this is the oil plug. This is the pipe plug. This is a 5/16 Allen. So remember, Jamie just hand tightened that oil plug in. We're just going to leave that right like that for a minute, but we are going to remove it fully. So I'm just going to remove this oil plug that we had put in there just to stop the oil from dripping all over the place. So we have our oil plug and we have the pipe plug.
So we've installed the scavenger feed fitting in the place of where that Allen plug went, which is right beside the drain plug.
I don't know what to do.
All right. So now we install the hose.
We sure do.
With a band clamp, correct?
That's right. It's pretty tight. You might not even need it.
Yeah, you don't want it popping off when you're turning the engine over.
No. Well, this is drawing fluid up, so there's no pressure pushing out against it.
Right. So we're just using a small adjustable wrench and a Phillips then for the band clamp.
This is where the oil pump is that circulates the oil through. So we have a fresh quart of oil. What we're going to do is put the hose in there. We're going to fire up the bike. We're going to allow it to draw up the entire quart. Then we're going to turn the bike off. And then we're going to put another quart and start the bike and draw half a quart. And while that's happening, Jamie's going to take a look under here and we're going to watch how the oil is getting circulated and all the dirty oil that's still in the engine is going to come out the oil drain plug hole. So let's start the bike. We're only at half a quart. It's just that its pressure is blowing the oil. You know what I mean? As you saw when we started the bike and the drain plug was out as the directions stated, just from the pressure, it was like spraying oil all over the place. So when we turned the bike off, the oil that was in here, like it's supposed to, was draining out. So what we've decided to do is we just put a few threads of that oil plug back in there. And we're going to fire the bike back up, let it draw the rest of this quart, and then we're going to draw another half quart, stop the bike, and then we're going to pull that plug and that oil will drain out.
There you go. So now that extra dirty oil that was in the engine is going to start all coming out. Oh yeah, there we go. Look at that. All that dirty oil was in the engine, even though I had just drained the tank.
That's right. So as you can see, it was worth it to go through this process to get that extra quart of dirty oil out of the engine. Now, this isn't a necessary step when you're doing your oil change. It's just a step that Jamie and I are willing to take just because we want to make sure that we're doing a complete oil change and getting rid of all that dirty oil. So that's totally up to you, but that's just what we do. So we've gone ahead and removed the scavenger pipe plug adapter, and we've replaced the pipe plug, and we've also torqued up the oil plug. So we're going to remove the scavenger puck, put on the new oil filter, fill it, start it, and we're good to go. So let's get started. So I'm just removing the scavenger puck that we put on. I tightened it on by hand so it comes off nicely. So we'll just wipe that up a little bit. We're going to add a little bit of this oil and we're going to put it on the new seal of the new oil filter we're going to install. I'm just going to take this rag and just clean up this surface here a little bit. Clean down in here. Doing an oil change on these is always a little bit of a messy business. Lots of people will put some tin foil down or something like that, but as you can see, we didn't bother. So I'm just gonna screw this oil filter on. Just gonna put it on hand tight. So this does not have to get torqued on. All I'm gonna do is just give this a little twist, and that's it. So oil filter is installed. Now we're just gonna do our fill.
So I do use this funnel. Here we go. And we're going to be doing 3 quarts. So the first 2 can go pretty fast. Number 2. And number 3. Now this one, go a little slower. So on the third one, I basically put a little over 3/4. So I've got 2 3/4 quarts in there. And I want to show you something about checking your oil. Now you will notice on touring models that their dipstick is not solid. It moves. And when you read it, it actually will tell you where to check if the bike is on its jiffy stand and where to check if the bike is straight up and down like it is right now on the lift. So this top one, it says full hot on jiffy stand. The bottom one, full hot vehicle upright. So let's just check right now and see how much oil we have with the vehicle. The motorcycle, Nightbird, is upright.
But what if the oil is cold?
Yeah, so that's a good question, Kevin. Right now, it isn't hot. We're getting an approximation. And like with the transmission, we are going to check it after a few minutes of riding it. So trust your work, but verify. So you can see there, hopefully you can see on camera, but it is showing that we are like
right
there. And once it gets hot, it'll expand. So I'm actually not going to put any more oil in. It's right there. And the bike's not hot. And so with a bit of expansion, this is like as full as you need it to be.
All right.
Back in, hand tight. And that is a 3-hole oil change on a touring bike with using a scavenger. I bought this bike with this Screamin Eagle Air Intake already on it, so I don't actually know the part number for it. Although I do have the part number for the K&N Filter, which I'll put up on the screen when we go to clean it and reinstall it. To remove this, you start with a 1/8 Allen and remove these 2 screws right there.
I hear Loctite breaking.
So as you can see, that removes the faceplate, which then gives you access to this nut right here. This is a 5/16 Allen. Okay. So now I can take this cover off. Okay, and that is Torx. T27 Torx, same as your derby cover.
So are we just going to go in a circle?
With a triangle, you kind of have to go in a circle. Isn't that weird? With a triangle, you have to go in a circle. You jackass.
Ta-da!
There we go, folks. Now, into the light.
Go to
Can you
the
see?
light.
See how it's pink there? Not too bad. And there. Look how dirty that is. Next step, we need to wash it. Once the filter is removed, it's now time to take a look at the situation here. We do have a bit of oil that has drip, but that is from those filters that we talked about in Kevin's bike when we were discussing that. And
your head breathers.
Yeah, the head breathers. So we are going to be doing a service on the head breathers on Kevin's bike. And we're going to actually be replacing the head breathers with the new S&S on my bike. So look for that in an upcoming video. This, pretty clean, not too bad. No concerns, just need to service the filter. Got my K&N cleaner here. So all we're going to do is we are going to liberally spray the cleaner.
So this is just basically a really good degreaser.
And where it's dirtiest, give it a little extra. Now, the instructions on this: shake well before use, liberally spray cleaner onto both sides of filter, and allow to soak for 10 minutes to loosen dirt. Do not allow cleaner to dry on air filter. Rinse with cool, low-pressure water from the clean side out to flush dirt out of the filter. Continue to rinse until all traces of cleaner are gone. Repeat the whole process if necessary. After rinsing, gently shake off excess water and allow filter to dry naturally. Oil filter according to instructions on oil container. So I rinsed it once, but it's not clean. So I've reapplied more cleaner, and very carefully I'm using a flathead screwdriver. And there's just all kinds of like bugs and stuff that are just kind of jammed in there. And so I'm just very gently going in there in between each of the pleats on the filter and just removing some of the stuff that came out. Kind of looks like that. So probably a hornet or something.
Used to be anyway.
After rinsing, gently shake off excess water. Oh, hi. Just getting some of the excess water off my K&N Air Filter. This air filter, by the way, is a part number 29670-09. Put that on the wall.
On the wall.
All
now
right.
we're off the wall.
Yeah, so now, we're always off the wall. So now we have to let this dry. One of the things that we always look for is Loctite buildup. Just, Kevin, let's take a look at this filter. So it's clean, but look at that right there. See that oil or that Loctite? Just kind of all built up around. So I'm just going to remove that now so I don't forget. And like I said, just let that dry. We'll oil it tomorrow. I'll show you how to reinstall it. Okay, so the filter is now completely dry. So what we have to do is we have to spray about 3 inches away from each pleat, and we allow the oil to wick for approximately 20 minutes. Then we're going to touch it up for any areas on either side of the filter and let it dry, and then ready to reinstall. So here we go. Try not to put too much oil on it. Kind of the trick is to get just enough. I know the first time I did this, I put way too much. And then I had to kind of wipe it all off and kind of made a mess. That's the idea, right? So filter's nice and red. And yeah, so I'm just going to let that dry. Here we go. So I'll let that dry for 20 minutes, and then we'll go from there. Okay, 20 minutes has passed. Looking really good. And that means it's ready to be reinstalled in the bike. So the filter can only really go on one way. There's a triangular pattern. So if you try to put it on upside down, you can't. So you got to put it on in the same way. Line up those holes with the Loctite on these little screws. I like to put them in by hand first. Make sure I'm not cross-threading anything. There we go. You can feel it start to thread. And remember, we're using a T27 Torx. So I'm just going to put these by hand. And you don't have to really crank these down either. You know, just basically make sure that they're tight. You can kind of feel it starting to tighten up. Evenly tighten all three. Okay, there I could feel it kind of bottom out. There, that one bottomed out. That one bottomed out. Okay, so now just a little snugging up. Not even a full half a turn, maybe not even a quarter of a turn. There we go. That's on there pretty good. So the next bolt is this one here, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double check the threads here, make sure any Loctite that's on it, I take it off. Again, we're going to do blue Loctite. You can kind of see how much I put on there. We're going to use our 5/16 Allen. Slide that on there. There we go. So again, I'm tightening that just till it goes tight. And then about a quarter of a turn. I'm happy with that. Quick inspection of these holes, and you can just see that there's a little bit of a buildup here of Loctite. So probably should have done that before I reinstalled it on the bike. Not going to hurt anything. So we have our faceplate screws, just little guys there. Clean those up. A little bit of Loctite. Kind of see how much Loctite I put on there. And put that faceplate back on. And the air cleaner is done. And we are going to use the 1/8 Allen. Kind of get it started here, and then you can start to thread it down. Not going to fully tighten that yet. I'm going to go like not even a quarter. Maybe this one a little bit more. Don't want this falling off while you're riding down the highway. There we go. Last thing I like to do, just before I'm done, take this nice clean rag, kind of get all the fingerprints and everything off, and then you'll kind of clean that up when you wash the bike. All right, air filter is done. Next thing we're going to do is start the bike, let it warm up, and then take it for a quick ride. And then we will check all the fluid levels, make sure everything's good. And I just like to do usually a once over, make sure everything's tight. And then we're done wrenching, we can go riding. Okay, so after your ride, you want to check the fluids, because all these fluids are supposed to be checked when it is hot. And so right now, I've just ridden the bike, it's nice and hot. I'm going to start by doing the transmission. I got a 3/8 Allen. So pull the dipstick out, give it a good wipe. Okay, and then place it back in. You don't have to thread it down, just place it like that. Pull it back and check. And what you want to see is you want to see fluid right about there. So I'll use so right about there. And in this case, I could probably put a little bit more. It's basically right halfway between. So I could put just a little bit more in, and then we know it's good. So I'll do that right now. Yeah, so that was perfect. Nice, right to the full line. So I'm very happy with that. So I'm just going to retighten this. And remember, you don't have to put a big snipe on it. Just kind of like not even a full quarter of a turn, just maybe like an 1/8 of a turn, and then we are happy. Next step, we're going to check the engine oil. So this you can do by hand. And remember, I showed you that written on here as you can see, this is not a solid dipstick. So written on here, it tells you where to check and whether or not you check it on the Jiffy stand or upright. In this case, the bike is hot. It is on the Jiffy stand. And it says to check screwed in. So we're going to put it back in. There we go, screwed in, back out. Now I'm going to check the level. And we are a bit low. So we're right in the middle. We're right about here. And this top one that would be full. So we could actually put a little bit more oil in. So let's do that now. Now we also don't want to overfill at this point. So we're just going to do this in small increments. All right. Yeah, still could put a bit more. So anyway, you get the idea. Just keep going until you get it full. And then your service is done, at least for the 3-hole oil change and the air cleaner, which I've showed you. But to do a comprehensive 20,000 mile or 32,000 kilometer service, there's a lot more to it than that. And therefore, we're going to have a part 2, and we're going to show you what a lot of people don't do when servicing their own bikes. It's basically the equivalent of a dealer level service that we're going to do. So come back for part 2.
To recycle and calm the dog.
Exactly. Well, this is
Jamie's. Know your role, Jen.
Oh my God. Yeah. Jen always makes sure we recycle because we're responsible.
We did talk about old school values at the outset of starting this channel. Know your role is definitely an old school biker value.
And also, when you're done playing with the bikes, there's chores to be done.